This year we're going to be borrowing somewhat less, but mostly because the government's cutting spending again and claiming it's going to have some underspends. In the long run, actually, the Office of Budget Responsibility says the structural position, the position after we get out of the cycle, hasn't changed. In fact, it's got, if anything, a little bit worse.
What about the fact the Chancellor is looking to make a surplus, according to the OBR, actually not borrow anything in 2018-19?
What the Chancellor has done is say we're going to have another year of austerity at the same scale as we've had over the last several years. He's going to take that right through to 2018-19. That implies some more big spending cuts. And as the OBR says, that will take government consumption, the spending on public services, back to where it was in 1948 as a share of national income.
So does that mean a lot more austerity than perhaps you'd expected?
Even more austerity than we'd expected, because the Chancellor has decided he wants to continue for an additional year in order to get the books into surplus at that point. He doesn't need to do that for his own fiscal rules, but he's saying, and this is a long way ahead, he is saying he wants to do it for an additional year. It doesn't particularly matter that the structural deficit has gone up a little bit. What it does tell us is that the OBR takes the view that the increase in growth we've had this year is entirely cyclical. It's just growth coming a little bit earlier than it otherwise would have done, and they appear to think that tax revenues may be a little bit less than they'd hoped that they would be, given what happens to growth.
If you look at the numbers, it's something like 70 billion less borrowing over 4 years than was predicted in March, and a surplus. Isn't it fair to say that things are looking better on the fiscal position?
Well, things are certainly looking better in the sense that, thank goodness, finally we've got growth. But it looks like that growth is just growth coming a bit earlier rather than more growth altogether. Growth coming earlier is helpful. It means that the national debt doesn't rise so far. It means we don't have, therefore, to pay so much in debt interest. But because the OBR doesn't think that this is a structural change to the economy, it doesn't think we will grow more altogether, it doesn't make that much difference to the long-run public finances.